Monday, December 10, 2018. Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are you ready, Tanya?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we'll do a roll call. Bob?
Here.
Dave?
Here.
Evan?
Here.
And Carolyn.
Here. Russ is.
Russ is absent.
Okay, we're going to begin our meeting with Marshfield Insurance Agency, Corey Hoffman, who is going to give us a presentation on our insurance.
They're over at the fire. They're over at the fire department.
Yeah, is it on? Not yet.
Okay, probably should talk about it.
Okay, all right.
Beth Marshfield Insurance, I want to thank you for allowing me some time tonight to come talk to you about your insurance policy that you have through our office, and we certainly appreciate your business. You should have each one of the mini packet there, so you kind of looking through them now.
They can't hear
Folder
you.
that looks like this.
They can't hear you, so see if it's on. Tap on. No. Did you push the button?
Yep. Lights on.
Here.
There you go. Okay, yeah, so I think you have to
Okay.
talk right into it.
All right, testing. Is that better?
Yeah, okay, now, can you hear back there? Yeah. Okay,
Okay, so inside your folder, there's actually two proposals, look like this. They look identical, but one of them says the town of McMillan on, and one of them says town of McMillan Fire Department on. So, you have two separate policies. So I guess what we'll do tonight is I'm going to do just kind of a brief summary, an overview of what we have in place for coverage. Feel free to ask any questions if you have them as we go along here. I understand we may need to look at some ways to try and reduce some costs a little bit if we can. I will have some thoughts as we go along here
okay.
on some areas where possibly we can do that. Fact is though, I mean, we really can't reduce costs without reducing coverage. So
Yeah.
it's just a fact. So, but I have some thoughts on some things you might want to consider. So, why don't we open the first page of the town of McMillan policy. Actually, turn to page 3 of 8, where it says property in the upper right-hand corner. So here we have our property coverage on all of our buildings and the contents in them. We have blanket coverage. So you see in the chart below, there's a building item listed and then on the limit, and then to the right of that, third column, fourth column over, I guess, PP limit, that's personal property coverage. What we've done is we've added all those limits together, combined them in one blanket limit. So you really have one limit of property coverage here to apply to all of the township real property, I guess, buildings and contents, including the gazebo and playground equipment. This value increased 2.5% over last year. It's just that there's inflation protection built into the policy to do that. There's not a lot more to talk about here. It's a pretty broad policy. We'll see on the next page. There's a bunch of additional coverages included. We can go into details on these things if you want. But as far as reducing property premium here, you have $1,000 deductible. Honestly, there's not enough premium involved here to save any significant amount of money by going higher than that. So, this replacement cost coverage for the limits, the values we choose, and the insurance company has some input in it too, but they have to be reasonably close to what it would take to replace it. Unless there's any questions, we'll move along here. I'm on page 5 of 8. The Marine, so this is coverage for mobile equipment, things that are mobile, that would leave the property. This is an area where we can consider doing some things differently. Right now, we have replacement cost coverage, and so the limits you see in the right-hand column next to each item are theoretically supposed to be reasonably close to what it would take to replace that item with a similar model, make and model, brand new one. We don't have to insure for replacement costs. We can insure for the current value of our equipment. So if we reduce the limit of insurance we're buying, we'll reduce the cost of the insurance. That's something we can consider. I don't know, talk to equipment dealers and so forth if you want to get some ideas on what the current value of these things might be, unless somebody has some expertise in the order.
I did talk about replacement costs and greater, and that's up to $350.
Okay, so the actual limit we see here, if we want replacement costs, is maybe if anything a little low.
Yeah.
Well, the premium for the in-marine on the township policy is it's one of the higher dollar items that you're paying for. And again, this is an area where if we need to, we could reduce the premium a little bit by maybe going to actual cash value coverage on the equipment. Or, it's up to you, you can self-insure. Obviously there's some big ticket items here if you had to replace, buying a piece of equipment, replace what you have. But nobody says you have to insure this stuff.
Is there a limit on the age of the equipment when the insurance does a cut off, or when you insure it for that value, that's 100% if it happens?
This policy is pretty unique in that, it will pay, no matter how old your piece of equipment is, it will pay you to replace your item with something brand new that, similar make and model. I mean, obviously models change and stuff, you might not be able to find the identical piece, but something similar, it will pay to replace that with a brand new piece right now. The coverage that you have now, on a replacement cost basis. But again, we could insure these items for their current values, and that would lower the cost of insurance. We do have some coverage built in the policy, releasing the rented equipment, and then also small tools and things that would leave the property here. So those are just included in the policy. We're not paying some extra for those items. Next page, page 6. Here's our liability protection. You can see the limits there. Those are the limits that are standard with this product. Can't increase them, we can't decrease them. Those are the standard limits. We have $5 million for any more occurrence, $10 million for policy aggregate. That's mostly paying toward in term for any all liability policies.
Excuse me, could you speak up, please?
Okay, I will try. All right.
Thank you.
So we also have a couple other coverage items here on our liability policy, employment practices liability. So this is liability if a former employee, a current employee, a future employee were to bring some sort of action against the township and the board or individual board members, claiming some sort of discrimination or harassment type of claim. So that's what this does for you. I have a breakdown of premium for some of these coverage items. Again, this is something that I would certainly recommend you keep, but if we need to reduce premium a little bit, you have to make some choices as to what to pay for and what not to pay for. This is something that we could get rid of if you want. Premium's $300 for this, for employment practices. Next item, professional liability. This is also commonly known as directors and officers, or directors and officers coverage. So this is coverage for acts or decisions that the board either makes or maybe doesn't make that somebody is going to claim adversely affects them, and they want to bring some sort of suit or action against the board. I think this is important to have. I don't think I would want to sit on a board that didn't have this. But it's $602 in the overall premium. Now on the very last coverage, the very last sentence here on this page, it addresses cyber coverage. You don't have a very high limit here, but, so this is coverage for the unauthorized release of personal confidential information. So, you know, we've all been aware over the past however many years of, you know, these big scale hacking incidents where, you know, credit card gets hacked into, or some store gets hacked into, or even the government. And people's personal information is stolen. That's the type of coverage that this is. You have a little, you know, this is a very low limit of coverage. The particular product that we have here, the insurance company doesn't offer any higher limits than for the township policy anyway, than what we have here. Last year we offered you a quote to go to a more comprehensive policy with higher limits. Would have included the township and the fire department. We had $1 million limit of coverage we were looking at. Premium was about $2,500. That was even. There's no guarantee it would be the same price if we wanted to look at that again now. But on the other hand, if we're looking at reducing premium, this is $303 in here. We could remove it if we need to, if we want to decide to or need to. I'm on page 7 then, automobile. See our limits on top. And then the list of autos, covered autos, towards the bottom. You know, we've got quote unquote full coverage on all the units, meaning liability, comp, and collision. You know, the premiums are so low here. I mean, you have some older units on here, and at some point, you know, even with our personal autos, we'll all make it to get to a point where we make a choice: do we want to keep paying for comp and collision on our older vehicles that aren't worth much anymore? The 1951 Oshkosh plow truck, the comp and collision premium on that is $9 anymore. I didn't save any money, but I can't remember that. The 2006 Chevy Silverado, $47 annually. So the premiums are so low here, I'm saving them by removing that coverage.
So Corey, is that the designated value column, is that the value of it, or that's not the replacement cost?
That's again a unique feature of this particular insurance product. You don't see this, I haven't seen this anywhere else, but designated value is a value that you choose, that you want to place on your vehicle, and it can be anywhere from what it would take to replace with a brand new one, all down to what the current value of your vehicle is, and anywhere in between them. It's a value that you choose. And that's the value that you will get paid if there's a total loss of your vehicle. And that's a good point you brought up, and I'm going to talk about that more when we get to the fire department policy, because the values are a little higher in some of the vehicles and premiums are more. But yeah, we can play with that designated value. We raise it, it's going to increase the cost a little bit. We lower it, it's going to reduce the cost a little bit. So I guess the idea is, I mean, for example, this 2010 International Plow Truck is a value of $110,000. You know, if we have suffered a total loss on that, we need to go out and replace it with something. How much money would we want to buy the kind of vehicle that we would like to buy to replace that with? And you know, the current designated value on that is $110,000. We can adjust these. I mean, that's up to you. So, but again, the premiums here in the township policy. Again, the 2010 International, the comp and collision premium, that's $159 a year. So, you know, reducing that designated value, you're not going to save much. You do have in the township policy, and I'll point this out, but employees' personal autos, if an employee or board member is using their own auto on behalf of doing some township business, you know, the township has liability coverage for the operation of that auto on its behalf. We can't cover the vehicle itself on the township policy here if this employee or board member gets in an accident, damage in your vehicle. You'd have to go to your personal auto policy for that, but there's at least coverage in here to reimburse the deductible. Or if you don't have coverage, you personally don't have coverage, comp or collision coverage, then it will pay for the damage to the vehicle. So it's a nice feature. It's even broader when we get to the fire department policy. Unless there are any more questions, page 8 is our premium summary. And again, you look at that inland marine premium, pay for the inland coverage there. That's an area where I identified anyway in the township policies here where we could maybe save a few dollars if we wanted to go change from replacement cost to, let's say, actual cash value coverage and insure our items for the current value rather than what we think it might take to replace them. So for example, if we cut our values in half, well, our premium would be roughly cut in half, or so, say $1,000 or so.
So as an example, what was the premium for the tractor?
I don't have individual premiums for you. I can get that information, but I don't have that right now. Yeah, I'll get you some more information on that. Okay, I'll follow up with you on that. Sure. Any more questions here, township policies?
So, this is the policy and stuff on the equipment. So how does that work if
Dealing with, yeah.
employees,
I'm sorry.
if any of the employees are involved in an accident with the equipment,
Mhm.
they're covered through this?
Well, yes, you mean, well, if the employee is injured, or if the employee is maybe responsible for injuring somebody else?
If the employees are injured?
Okay, yes, while they're
It's kind of
working for the township.
It's a two-part question, so go ahead.
Okay, I'll answer that part. While they're working for the township, they're covered under workman's comp. For their injuries, they'll be covered under workman's comp insurance.
Okay.
But
The
you
second
have-
part of that question, because of my place of employment and how it works, if the safety equipment is not being used at the time of the accident, are they still covered 100%? Being that if seat belt or chainsaw chaps or anything else, if they're not using personal protection equipment,
Yeah.
how does that fall?
Yeah, you're still covered. The employee is still gonna be fully covered for the extent of the injuries. There's no clause in there that, there's no stupidity exclusion or, I should have done this, but I didn't exclusion. I mean, if he's, employee's injured while they're working for the township, they're working, the injuries are gonna be taken care of. So. Are we ready to move on to the
Yeah.
fire department? Okay. That is the second proposal in your packet there, looks like this. I'm gonna turn to page 3. And it's a similar layout to what we saw with the township proposal. We start with property insurance. There we have the fire station building, business personal property contents in the building. When we go a few more pages, you're gonna see that there's a separate amount of insurance for like the turnout gear and portable equipment. We'll see that in a few minutes here. So I guess when you're looking at that personal property limit, tables, chairs, office equipment, whatever else is in there that would stay in there, that's what we'd be covering here. The fire station building, the coverage on that, it's guaranteed replacement cost. So whatever it takes to replace that building, if it should happen to be even more than what we see for the limited insurance rate, the policy will pay the ground. We have the storage shed that has limited insurance on it, that's rate standard replacement cost, and some contents covered in the storage building. So. And again, the property premium here is relatively small in comparison to the grand total of the premium you pay. When you get $1,000 deductible, you're not really not going to save anything by increasing the deductible or doing anything different with the coverage here. So. The next page again has a summary of all the additional things that are included. Again, That's just part of this, part of the policy. Yeah, specific questions anyway, so we have to try and answer them. Page 5, inland marine again. Again, this is property that's portable, mobile. It's going to leave the premises here. So for portable equipment, turnout gear and so forth, and you can see some examples of some of the things that would be covered under that. This is blanket coverage, and again, it's, as on the fire department building, it's guaranteed replacement costs. So whatever the amount of your loss is for this stuff, it will be paid regardless of limit. They do say, you see blanket was based on 300,000, you see that. That's just a number that they use to develop a premium, to rate the premium for this coverage. Under that, we have a few scheduled pieces of equipment. Got 2 ATVs and a snowmobile. They're all older units. You know, do you need to have physical damage coverage on these things? Maybe not. I don't know if it's worth anymore. I don't have a breakdown of what the physical damage premium costs on each of these items. I can get that. I don't have it right now. It's not going to be a lot. I'm going to save a lot of money here, but if you want me to look at that, I can certainly get that information. Next page is just some additional inland marine type coverage that's included, and just a description of how the coverage works. So liability, page 7. Again, you see the limits that are the same as what we saw in the township policy. Firefighters liability, emergency medical services liability added on this one. Employment practices liability, we talked about that on the township policy. It's included. The fire department, any employment practices coverage for the fire department is actually included on the township policy. You're not paying anything additional here. So the professional liability, again, like a directors and officers type coverage we have here. Again, it's really inexpensive on this policy. It's only $77, so I wouldn't even consider getting rid of it. Liquor liability and then special events. So these coverages are kind of specifically for the Fall Fest. Liquor liability is relatively inexpensive too. It's on $17. So Fall Fest, and including coverage for the fireworks display. There's a premium charge just for the Fall Fest event for the liability coverage associated with it. $250. Fireworks, another charge for that, $300. So $550. And then the liquor liability is really just for that event, I think. I don't think we have any other events where we need that. So you can see Fall Fest, just to cover from an insurance standpoint, provide liability coverage for the event, $667. Towards the bottom here, cyber coverage again. So the program that we have here does offer higher limits for this coverage off of the fire department policies, and the premiums are lower. You're only paying $155 for the same limit that you have on the township policy right now. We did get quotes to increase this. I don't know if we're in a buying additional premium coverage kind of mode right now, but $100,000 limit here would be $68 additional. $200,000 would be $185 additional. Again, these are relatively low limits, so we thought we'd offer you something more. Next page, just some additional information on what's all included here with the general liability coverage. So on page 9 and 14 here, the automobiles. Here's an area where maybe we could save a little premium dollars. So we've got, here's the list, and first of all, make sure that that's accurate and up to date, but You see the designated values off on the right-hand side. Again, as we talked when we looked at the township policy, it's up to you what value you choose here. What do we wanna get paid if we have a total loss on one of our autos? What's it gonna take to replace it on the vehicle that we want to replace it with? And I don't mean replacement new, but just whatever we want to replace it with. So, and again, if we lower these values, that is gonna reduce our cost of insurance. The comp and the collision premiums on some of these are a little bit more than what we saw in the township policy. A lot of them are higher values also. For example, a 99 Pierce pumper, $587 a year for comp and collision. I don't know that you'd want to remove it, but that's what it is. It's $587. Another one here, the 05 International Tanker, $325 a year for comp and collision. Yeah, again, I don't know if you want to consider removing it from any of these. How about 78 Ford heavy rescue truck? I don't know what that thing's worth anymore. Is it worth carrying comp including on it anymore? I don't know. But the premium's $112 a year, so it's not much. So.
That one's going down the road.
Okay. Yeah, well, let us know when that happens, but yeah, we'll remove it.
Well, it's gone.
So, again, we can play with these designated values if we want. And, if we decide to lower them, that will reduce the cost of insurance. Yeah, this next 2 pages really talk about that designated value coverage in a little more detail and how you might want to go about picking that limit. And the page after that is just some additional information on the auto coverage itself. Finally, on page 13, here's our premiums. You see there's not a whole lot in any particular coverage item here that we can reduce really. I mean, the bulk of the premiums in the auto because we have fleet vehicles on the road. So I mean, that's an area where I kind of looked at on this policy here that we need to save a little money. There's some things that we can do. For example, this designated values to reduce the premium a little bit.
Just to jump back to the H&S trailer, one that's on there. When on some insurance policies, to other places, when trailers are hooked up to vehicles, they're automatically covered as an extension, not something separate. Like boats, you're hauling a boat, you don't have to, if it's under 70 horse. I mean, 70 horse, you don't have to have.
Typically on your
boat.
personal auto policy, any trailer that's hooked up to a covered power unit, you're gonna have liability coverage for pulling that trailer on a personal auto policy. I think, is that where you're going with this? Yeah. As far as the boat trailer doesn't, from the auto coverage standpoint, it doesn't matter what the horsepower of the boat. That's a watercraft liability question. Where the horsepower comes into play.
Problem is though, is that the tow vehicle's unhooked at the time, then it wouldn't be covered, right?
The trailer?
Yes.
That is correct. On a commercial auto policy, yes.
So if we take it to a grass fire and we unhook it because we're using a brush truck for something else, then it won't be covered while it's sitting on the side of the road.
Yeah, you've got live, so the trailer's on here, and of course, anything on here has liability coverage. And at this point in time, we all have physical damage, comp and collision as well. I don't know what the premium is for liability on the trailer. It's not going to be much. It's maybe $20, $30 a year. I can tell you the comp and collision premium on that trailer is $37. So in addition to what we just looked at here, yes, we do have, there's a workers' compensation policy that the town has. The fire department's covered on there as well. Tanya's got the premiums for that. She's going to pay that. You just need to pay the premiums for you. I did present on you with invoices for these policies. Now, if we decide to make a few changes, I can get revised updated premiums and invoices to you. We can do that pretty quickly, so just let me know if you want to make any changes here.
Rod, does the fire department equipment list look comprehensive, or do you think there's some changes there? You don't have to get them tonight, but I just want to make sure it matches that list that we looked at last week.
Okay.
So the town equipment looked like it matched the policy, but we'll check on the fire department stuff.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
any other questions?
How does this compare with last year's premium?
Okay,
This question.
yep. I do have that. On the township policy, it's a 4.6% increase. Part of that is accounted for with the property values increased 2.5%, so that's part of that increase. Pretty reasonable. I know there was some concern in talking, leading up to renewal here. There were a total of 3 claims during the past year, 2 of them involving township, 1 involving fire department, and I know there was some concern about how is that gonna affect our premiums. In my opinion, it didn't. It really didn't. I mean, these are pretty minimal increases, so. The fire department policy, that one was a 5.4% increase. Again, the property values went up 2.5%. And we also, in addition to our portable equipment, we bought some new, what was it, respirators?
Breathers, yeah.
Breathers, yeah. So we did, the value, the limit that portable equipment coverage was rated on, we did increase that. And that's part of the increase there as well on the fire department policy. So.
Okay, any other questions from anybody? Thank you, Cory.
You're very welcome. Again, I appreciate your time tonight. I appreciate the business that you have, Marshall. Thank you very
Thanks for
much.
coming and going over this with us.
You're very welcome. Let me know if
Yeah.
you decide to look at making any changes, and I'll get some updates to you.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll just move on to comments from the audience. Yes.
Dorothy Olson, I take that back, it's 4646 in Majors Lake. Anyways, we're missing the minutes from the 15th of November. I see they were posted, but they've never been approved. We did the other ones, we did the 13th, the 26th, and now you're doing the 3rd.
What kind of meeting was that, Dorothy? Is that
They were missed.
no, that wasn't my question. My question was, what type of meeting was that? Was that a special board meeting?
Yep.
15th special.
Yep. And you've also got, you got other officers present. The attorney wasn't there that night.
Are we still talking about the 15th?
Yep.
Okay, I can look into that. That was the time of mine and Mike's transition, so I'll look at that.
Yeah. Anyways, they were missed so far.
Okay, George?
George Durfus, M326, Roman Road or Birch, whatever you want to put down. I'd like to know a dollar amount on what that budget do-over cost the township. And I'm talking the newsletter, the special meetings, Carolyn's attorney, everything involved with that second budget meeting, that do-over. You can't give that to me tonight, I wouldn't think.
Sure.
You can give it to me tonight?
No, I'm agreeing with you. We can't give it to you tonight yet.
Well, you're the first. Okay, my other thing is, I understand that the community picnic got kiboshed, there aren't funds available. Whatever the reasoning is, only you guys know. what happened on that, at the very beginning, and I know that was a sore spot with you guys, Patty, on the first one, she called the Department of Revenue, and she found out, told them exactly what the whole thing was. And they said if she needed, find out if they needed permits or licenses or anything like that, and it was a no. Everything was good to go. So we had that last year, or first year, turned out really good. Now, the second one, my wife called down there because there was some controversy about supposedly needing permits, or it was illegal, or it was whatever. And she talked to the state auditor and laid it out to this person on what was gonna be, and the one question that they asked, is anything gonna be charged? Is anything charged for? And there was none. And he said, the auditor said that they handle that every day. He said, I handle this every day. That's what that he told her. So then, she gets a letter from Carolyn's attorney. It's an opinion. Okay, his opinion.
Excuse me, it is not my attorney.
Sure as hell ain't mine.
Well, it
You're,
is the
Carolyn,
county's.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that.
I beg your pardon. That's inappropriate.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
All right.
At a
We're
meeting,
moving on.
at a meeting, I asked you, that was about 3 months ago, on why we have this attorney, and you said the DA recommended that you have an attorney. That's what you
town.
said. That is what you said.
So why are you calling it mine?
It sure as hell ain't mine.
Well, it's the township.
My wife
and
asked-
you're part of it. I don't want, no more discussion on this. This isn't even on the thing.
So I could cut off again.
Well, if you have something else to say,
Yes, I
go
did.
ahead and say it.
Yes, I
And
did.
get it over.
Okay, can I talk again?
Make it quick.
I can't talk that fast.
You did it pretty well.
All you people that wrote letters, emails, and whatnot, like you did, scaring the hell out of people about this budget thing, how it's gonna be cutting fire service, road service, all this and that. You should be ashamed. You really should. Anybody that did that, that is just totally wrong. Just all you did was scare people. That little school teacher from India or wherever the hell, she looked terrified, and it was a real concern of hers. And that come from these emails and these letters to Hub City Times, and that's wrong. All you guys are doing is manipulating and scaring. Now, one more thing. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you just have a letter in saying something about library services to be cut to the Hub City Times or whatever?
No, I didn't write any letter.
Am I right?
That was an interview.
Oh, an interview, I'm sorry, okay.
I said we pay in our levy, the county gives us $85,000, and that goes into our levy. Then that $85,000 goes to the library. Okay, that is under contract. We had a special in 1999, there was a special contract set up. And it's all, the equation has to do with our equalized value plus the usage. And so that's what determines it every year. It's calculated every 3 years. Now, if we don't have the funds that we can pay, we may have to look at discontinuing that. That's a lot of money.
I don't think you can do that, that's mandated, am I correct?
No, it is
That's mandated
not.
by the state
No,
or
it is
federal, one
not.
of the two?
It's a contract between the town of McMillan and Marathon County Library and the city of Marshfield. Oh, yes, yes it is. And so, it's very expensive. And it was done for the citizens of this township. That's why we did it, so that you could, because otherwise we had to either use the bookmobile or you had to go to Wausau.
That was one of the best things that ever happened here. I use the library a lot, and
I
it's
know.
very enjoyable.
It is, it's wonderful, but Anyway, that's it. It is not mandated by the state. Now, the thing that is mandated is the ambulance service. There's nothing we can do. We can't touch that. We can't, our number one priority in this town is public safety. Secondary is transportation. The two go hand in hand, all the way. We have to provide for those things. We can cut back on some of the services, like taking the calcium chloride out. You don't go out and plow unless you have 3 to 4 inches. You know, there's things like that that you can cut back on with the roads. There's one, what is it, Cleveland? How many, what? You can only put gravel down
10 miles a year.
10 miles a year. You know, so there's ways to do this, and this may be some of the things that we may have to do with that cut.
Karen, do you want me to address how the transportation aids are calculated?
Yes.
Okay, so I was gonna discuss this on Friday evening, but I didn't have an opportunity. So we looked into the transportation aids because there were lots of questions about that. So right now, we get transportation aids because we provide a certain level of service or a certain dollar amount per road. If the board decides that they need to cut some of those services, then, well, let me back up. The calculation is we get aids for these roads. It's a 3-year look back, and it's an average of what the board, has spent for 3 years. And if what the board spends drops below a certain threshold, then there is a reduction in the aids that we get. But the town will not see that. Right now, they're on a 15, 16, 17 average to calculate fiscal year 19. So we will not see a reduction in those aids until 21. So it's a 3-year average calculation, and it's based upon what we spend. So the board is allowed to reduce those services and not necessarily see a reduction in those aids. It just depends on if it drops below a certain threshold.
Okay, was there somebody else? Yes, Gary.
Gary Franz, 116451 Birch Tree Road. I would like to thank whoever did the setup for Friday night, allowing the people to get inside so they weren't standing outside in the cold, like happened at the meeting, the first meeting. I'd like to commend whoever thought
Yeah,
that.
thank you. Well, and it was mainly orchestrated by Donna and Rodney and Tanya, and then all the firefighters. So it was a big job, and we had to go get chairs from another township actually to cover it. So, okay, any other comments? Okay, let's move on. Approval of special town board meeting minutes for December 3rd. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the special town board meeting minutes of December 3rd, 2018.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve the special town board meeting minutes of December 3rd, 2018. Is there any discussion, any corrections, or?
I have a question on 8,
Okay.
4-to-1 roll call vote. There was only 4 board members here.
You weren't here. Was it you? Yeah.
Right, I think.
Yeah, you, as you
I'll check the
absent.
tape. I'll check the tapes on that.
So correct it, it would be 4-0.
It's just before the 0.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure nobody voted differently, but yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, any other corrections? Okay. The motion has been made and seconded to approve the special town board meeting minutes as corrected. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll vote.
Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Abstain?
Carolyn.
Aye. Okay, we'll go into reports. Plan Commission, Deb?
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay. Fire Department, Rod?
Since our last normal board meeting, we've had one EMS call, we've had one motor vehicle accident, 2 mutual aid calls, 1 false alarm, and 1 fire call. Due to the number of calls, we've been concentrating on maintaining the rigs and getting everything ready for the next calls. The department is at this time looking at, because the board asked anytime that we look for grants or anything, we're looking at trying to work something out with the DOD and Department of Defense for a possible generator that would be large enough to power the fire station. In lieu of if the power were to happen, well, and we have an incident at that time. The department has elected officers last month. The officers that were elected are Rod Bauer as chief, Lori as captain, Cody is a 3rd lieutenant, Alicia is secretary, and Ernie Larrabee is treasurer. The training for December will be on bloodborne pathogens and hip review. The EMS group is basically working on doing some winter training with the cold weather coming up and everything.
What's that last sentence? The last sentence is, stops in the middle of everywhere. We will also be working on a few advanced skills that we can
Obtain.
obtain.
Yes.
I figured it was obtain something or other after it, it just didn't get granted.
Okay.
Is the board good with us going, trying to apply something for the DOT?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, what's the dollar amount you're looking at doing with this?
They
That was
have,
part of what-
we're at the real beginning stages of that. They said fill it out and we'll see if the cost of the department or to the township would be 0. It'd be a flat out donation of generator. It's not a 50-50 or anything like that, or it'd be, here's a used generator. The city of Marshfield Police Department got one a few years back. That's kind of what got us going on. Because with the cuts and everything, taxes and that stuff, we figured that in the capital improvement, but that's not happening.
Thank you. Library, Ruth?
The library puts out a calendar, both sides. This is November and December. The library will be closed on the 24th and the 25th. On the 31st and the 1st, the 31st they'll be closing early, which is 5 to 5:30, can't remember. And then it is closed on January 1st. What I'd like to bring to your attention is the fact that the library started last year. They found that there were a lot of young people from, most of them junior high, that had nothing to do after school. And they've come up with a name for this. It's now called MARSH. It is Mentors Are Really Supportive and Helpful. And they're working with the, Personal Development Center. And they use the Adler Room, and these children are welcome to come, and there's snacks for them and different projects that they can go on. And most of them stay 3 to 4 hours. And it's a lot because they're in family. They're helping them. And the other new thing is that Fonkel now has a coffee bar in the entrance of the library. It's from 8:30 to noon. They have coffee, they have bottled water, tea, and treats that you can purchase. And that's one way that they're raising their means. The usual activities are going on at the library with children now, so that's it.
Shirley, Mook, stopped me today and said to be sure and tell everybody that the Macmillan exhibit is complete at the library now, and that,
It's a small area, but that is where McMillan's rocking chair is, and some pictures. But the rest of that part of the basement isn't done yet, so it's kind of difficult to see it, but yeah.
okay, thank you. Okay, garbage and ordinances. I don't have anything there. I am gonna speak for, I got an email today stating that we were absolutely supposed to be using the uniform addressing. Well, did any of you get, anybody else? This is addressed to my husband, so I assume the other people got this card?
Yeah.
Okay, well, apparently some did and some don't. I'm gonna read what this one thing, it tells, they're, as soon as they complete us, they're pausing until May of 2019 for Berlin, Bern, Brighton, Halsey, Hamburg, Bolton, Hall, Johnson, Rib Falls, Reed Rock, Spencer, and Stettin. So they won't take that up. They will resume installing signs beginning in May of 2019. Then they go on to say, you should continue to use your current address for voting and all other activities, driver's license renewals, check reordering, etc. When the project resumes in 2019, you will receive an official notice from the county informing you of what your new uniform address will be. For public safety reasons, new addresses cannot be released to the public before official notices are mailed. So I know that there's a lot of people have already done all their address changes and so forth, and
I think that pertains for the townships that did not get it.
Yeah.
I think that just pertains to them.
it may be, but it doesn't make it very clear here, so that's why, it's,
Project's not done.
that's why they told, you don't have yours yet? Did you say?
The project, what they're telling us then is the project, until the project is absolutely done, we stay with our old address. That's what they're telling you.
But we already got the official notice.
I was just gonna say.
We got our official notice already.
With our address on it.
So
That's why they said, be sure you don't remove any of the signs. And I think that, the post office, I said, well, why did you give those addresses out? And they said, we did not. It was on the website for the post office, and they are the ones that gave them out.
The utility company, like Charter, they've already changed mine automatically.
Mine.
I got a postcard from Montana that had my new address on it. I didn't even know what it was.
They've been changed.
I think I said last month or 2 months ago that I went and changed everything and I was gonna be the guinea pig before it was put in there.
Joe Berger beat you.
Last thing I had to do today, I was down at DMV. The official notice that you guys have gotten with your address on, you really need to take that down there. Because that is your $14 free ticket to get your stuff done for everybody in the household. Anybody with the CDLs, you have 10 days from when it is posted in your front yard to get your license changed.
Official notice? I haven't gotten any official.
I think the other one was the official. I think they have that worded wrong. I think that is for the townships that did not get
Okay,
it
well,
done.
this just says November 2018 update, so.
It
So
would be
anyway.
helpful to stop down prior to, pick up the form, have that filled out, have your slip with you. I believe by the end of 2019, Rod, you might know something about this. On the driver's license, there's a little star that goes in the upper corner. If you're gonna take a flight, enter in federal buildings, that needs to be on there. So at the time, if you do not have it on your current license, when you go down there, take your social security card, and I believe it was your birth certificate, And that little star will automatically go onto your license, so you're good. I believe at the end of 2019, you will not be able to, even if the plane is in the US, you will not get on a plane.
Plane, courthouses, anywhere where you need a federal ID. I mean, that's what it becomes a federal ID.
Right. So just, when you go to do that, if it's not on there, take the information and get it done.
Okay, let's move on to highway.
Well, in the light of what happened the other evening, I don't think there's too much to report. It's gonna be a real easy year, right? In response to that, though, I have an opinion, and I'm gonna express it at this point in time. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. 10 years ago, give or take a year, we ratcheted the mill rate down. We just got to the point where we're starting to make some headway on some road projects. And again, we did the same thing. We shot ourselves in the foot. It's gonna come back to haunt us, as the clerk alluded, in 2 to 3 years. I live on a place at the end of the road down here that my grandfather came to in 1900. And I was always taught through the generations, and I lived with my great-grandfather and grandmother at that point in time for a few years. Probably didn't understand a whole lot at that point, but I was to leave the place better than what I found it. That's the only reason that I sit on this board and have been reelected for this position. And I always say it's, and I'll tell anybody who I talk to, it's a rule of 51. It's 51% of those people that come out to vote or not vote for you, or won't vote for somebody else. You either get elected or you don't. And I think you have to look out for the best interests of the township for the long haul. We like to see it left better than what we found it. Some of our kids are gonna stay here, some of them won't. So, with that being said, I'll stop. And we're gonna have to address issues. One of them is gonna be dust control. Those that live on a county or state highway, that isn't gonna be an issue. Or a blacktop road, that isn't gonna be an issue. However, there are people that live on a gravel road yet. And if we take the dust control away from them, that limits some of the things. And they pay county taxes too. They pay county taxes for the blacktops that are in other portions of the township, or the chip seal, or the county roads. Now, is that fair? I don't know. Only you, the voters and the constituents of this township, get to make that decision. So with that said, I'm gonna shut up and we gotta get back to move on.
And Kevin?
Still need to get in touch with Lee about the community picnic yet and get an answer back on that. At this time, I believe it's one way, shape, or form it's gonna happen again, and I'm gonna ask if for that event, when Dorothy requests the pavilion, that we waive the fee for the rental for that weekend, or Saturday, Sunday, whatever it will be. We can deal with that at the time when we have the
When
date
it's a
set.
little warmer.
Yeah, but just some food for thought on.
Yeah, you gotta have it right. I do have, Dorothy, I'll give you a card. The auditor gave me 2 cards. And he said, if you wanna do this, you need to go through him. And he will tell you exactly how to do it. So here it is when it's over. I forgot I had it. It's right here in my folder. Okay, Russ is not here. Newsletter, we are. Don't we always get we don't need to speak to that now. The newsletter, usually in March. So we'll have that then. Buildings and grounds, Bob, is there anything there?
No, nothing to report.
Okay, clerk.
And I just had a couple things. First of all, the town of McMillan is hosting the Western Towns Association meeting on January the 31st. The Western Towns Association rotates locations, and so it's McMillan's time to host that, and so Carolyn will be working on a venue for that. We did get, I think I discussed this in our last meeting, so the previous clerk had decided to pay the insurance January 1, but we did get a cancellation notice for the workers' comp, so I went ahead and paid that in the bills tonight. You will see that on your check listing. That is EMC, it was for $5,052. We did pay all of our insurance last December, so this is pretty consistent with what we've done in the past. It's my recommendation that we pay the other insurance that we talked about tonight in 2018 as well, unless the board has some changes. But we have another meeting to talk about to pay the final bills. That brings me to my next point. We do need to set a date for the last meeting in December where we approve all the final vouchers. And then if there's any updated minutes, then we can approve those for this meeting, and then Dorothy, I'll check on the 15th. So I'm recommending December 28th. And Donna said we usually do that in the morning.
You have in the past had a day meeting, but it doesn't work for nights. What was the date again?
December 28th is what I'm recommending.
And what day is that?
That is a Friday.
28th?
Mm-hmm.
It's just to pay the bills, the balance of the bills, and fix the meeting? There's
Any meeting minutes that haven't been approved.
That's all it's gonna be.
And budget, I'm sorry, and budget amendments, because we will not be doing budget amendments tonight. We'll have to do those in our final meeting.
Then we should have designation of any leftover monies at that meeting.
Yeah, when we usually do it then.
I'm gonna say morning's not gonna work for me.
Well, I was gonna say, but if she has,
Afternoon's good, but again, that's if it's not snowing, so.
It doesn't matter
What
to
about
me,
you?
I'm just recommending that day.
I'm not available in the morning. I think we get home in the evening.
Are you going home?
No, just the 26, 27, 28. 27, 28. The end of that week probably won't work for me.
Would that evening work for you?
I'd have to check. I don't
Okay.
know.
well, we can shoot for the 28th. I think that's what we should do. You said you could in the evening?
Yeah, in the evening, yeah.
I don't think we will have all of our bills if we do it like the 21st or 22nd. I don't think we'll have everything that we need by then, so.
28th at 6 o'clock?
Is that the earliest you can get here?
Well, I get it earlier. 4:30?
Well, Bob, what about you?
I don't know.
You
I'll
don't,
let you know as soon as
okay, well, can we set the time then when you find out what your schedule is? We'll schedule for the 28th, but the time is kind of in limbo at this point for that evening, okay?
All right, sounds good. Okay, and then, we talked about insurance. So, just a note on our website. So the current website that we have is hosted by a vendor. It was set up some time ago. We don't have the ability to make any updates to minutes or agendas. I can't do any posting. And so so right now our website's a little bit of a mess and some things in the wrong places, but I did get a quote for us to host our own site from this same company, and it was $4,000 for them to set it up, which I think is unrealistic. So just wanted to let the board know that I'm going to be trying to get some quotes for that. I do know the Towns Association has a vendor they're working with right now in Eau Claire, and it's a very minimal cost. I wanna say minimal, it's $1,000, and then there's $49 a month for hosting.
What do we pay for
Similar
hosting right now?
We pay $400 a year right now for hosting, plus $300 for updates, so $700 compared to this other company's $600.
Excuse me, Tanya, you need to get a hold of John, because there's a password, and you can get in there and you can edit that whole thing.
I've been talking to John Deb. He's the one that's told me that I can't update it. John's the one that gave me the quote for $4,000.
What would you want to update on there? Because that website actually has the capability of putting each one of your supervisors, planning commission, fire department, where they could go in and update all of their, or put all of their old stuff in, and then nobody's ever utilized it.
So that's exactly opposite of what John's telling me right now. He's the one I've been dealing with. He said that it was set up a long time ago and it's hard-coded and it's very difficult to update, and that I can't do it. And if you look at the front page right now, it says December 10th, there's a special meeting of electors. And I told him twice, it's a regular board meeting. If you look at our minutes, it's just a mess. And I think it's just because we've had so many meetings lately and he's not able to keep up. But that's exactly opposite of what he's told me. You're welcome to call him, but that's...
But because I know there's a password where you can get in and edit it yourself.
I've asked Deb, I'm sorry, that's what he's told me.
I have it if you want it, I got it wrote down.
So anyway, just letting you guys know that I'm trying to work with our current vendor, but if we can't make some resolutions, and we obviously cannot afford $4 grand, I'm going to be looking at other options, and I'll bring that back to the board before we make a decision. So.
Well, you can ask the youngest kid in the room, how easy is it to do your own website?
It's very easy.
Well, you use cheap services.
All right.
I mean, yeah, it's,
It's not hard, it's really not hard to do, so, but okay, and then one last reminder to the board. So the positions that are up for re-election this year, if you are not going to run, you need to have your non-candidacy forms to me by December 21st. That is a state requirement. Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to go over any of your clerk financial thing?
Are you wanting to make that on?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is Donna, this is Donna's report. Donna, would you like to?
Are you ready for me?
Yeah.
She's finished? Okay.
that's the Mike Taylor one that you did.
I think that's just, she didn't take my name out. It's supposed to be her name there now. I think that's all it is. Okay, so you have your, in your package, you have your financial statements.
Mm-hmm.
The 76,636.06 is a balance between the clerk and myself. The other balances are on there. Later on, we'll be talking about transferring of monies, but I wanted you to be aware that I made arrangements for tomorrow morning for the monies that you borrowed to be put in the account for the breathers. That loan goes in tomorrow. And the other thing on this report is the balance of the tax savings account will be transferred to the general checking probably tomorrow to pay some of these bills. And then when the taxes start coming in, that account begins again as well. So everything goes, interest, anything that's in that account. And that's all I have.
Okay.
The rest comes later.
Okay. Well, I think then we'll just move right on down. Do we have a motion to approve the treasurer's financial report?
Make the motion to approve the treasurer's financial report.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the treasurer's financial report. Any discussion? Okay, will you vote?
Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, we go to unfinished business, checks to approve.
The voucher report, the check numbers are in order, and then there's 2 EFTs at the bottom for payroll taxes. It's the December listing.
$1771 EFTs, you said.
Yes, ma'am. And I do have invoices here if anybody wants to see a copy of one.
Oh, here's this, the check for Hiller's True Value. You might want to explain what we bought there.
I ordered a locking mailbox because, with the tax season coming up, and if someone isn't here, one of us isn't here during the day or overnight, and mail gets put in there late in the day, sometimes it does, sometimes it's early, sometimes it's late. Those tax bills will be inside the box, it's a regular mailbox, with a little bit larger slot. We'll take up to 8.5 by 11, it goes in, drops down, and the key is in the front. And we will talk to the mail person, and if he does have a box of any sort, which is very, very rare for us, we'll ask him to, he can either fill out the card and we'll come get it, or he can put it in the fire department's larger box. Usually they're theirs anyway, because they're the only ones who mainly order stuff offline.
Yeah.
Okay. And Pat's putting that up tomorrow.
Good. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the checks?
I'll move to approve the checks number 16019 to 16064 inclusive, and then electronic fund transfers 1770 and 1771.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion has been made to approve the checks 16019 through 16064, and the electronic transfer is 1770 and 1771.
Discussion?
Mhm.
We're missing some checks in there, for checking orders, 55 through 59.
55
Would
and
we
what?
leave off the last time?
16054 was Marathon County for dog tags, and then we went to 16060.
Let me see what those are. I think those are payroll checks, they're dated for Friday. Let me just look. Yeah, those are payroll checks dated for Friday, and the report goes through today. So, would you like for me to?
Yeah, just look at them so we can include them in here. Yeah.
That one.
16055.
Is it on top of
Yep.
Ron Jervis, Blair, out of the highway. Tanya's is 56, 57 is mine, 5.8 is Pat Lagos, 5.9 is the constables, and Lorenzo.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And those, and payroll checks are normally cut outside of the board meeting anyway, and so and it's standard, the date is standardized in QuickBooks, so that's why it's outside of this, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, we can just include those in there,
Okay.
so we can remake the, redo the.
No, it's still there.
Just, okay, got it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Tanya, you can go.
All right, Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, 2019 budget.
Okay, so the next document in your packet is what we discussed at the last board meeting. And I think the only changes to that document is Rodney and I went through a couple of fire department items, because he was on vacation, so I had to make some small adjustments there. And then, the recycling was moved out of both columns. I think it was already previously removed out of the $500,000 column. I guess my question to the board is there something on this report that you would like to see changed, or monies moved in different line items before you adopt the budget?
So when you say you took the recycling out, because it wasn't here, where to go? What-
It's gonna be on
So,
with the garbage. It's garbage / recycling. It does, it's on the special assessment. It was in the levy before, so we just took it out of there, put it here. So you would be paying for it if it was in the levy, you would the same amount as you're down gonna be paying, just, but it's garbage / recycling. So it gives you a little more wiggle room with the levy.
so Carolyn, before the board adopts the budget, should the board move agenda item 14 up in front of number 9?
Oh, yeah, so we can go to, well, we need a motion to change the order,
I'll make the motion to change the order.
so that we can bring it up here with with 9. From 14 up, move it up to 9. Is there a second?
I'll second
Okay, motion been made and seconded to move item 14 up to 9 with the budget. And the number 14 is recycling, is moved from the levy, just have it together with the garbage. The recycling is it's $3 a month, 3.03 per month. So that's so that will be in addition to your garbage payment. So, and it gives you more wiggle room in your levy.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second to reorder the line item. Can we do a vote? Okay,
Please.
Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
it. Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye.
Okay. Carolyn, are we entertaining a motion to move the recycling?
Approve the proposed budget.
Actually, the recycling, we need to vote on the recycling.
Oh, I thought we
first.
did.
No, we voted to move it up.
We moved it. Oh, yes, okay. We have a motion to approve putting the recycling amount with the garbage on the tax bill.
So I'll make the motion, put the recycling in with the tax bill.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to put, it will be on special assessment, garbage and recycling.
Okay, so-
Is there discussion?
Yeah, so, I mean, we all paid for garbage to begin with.
Yes,
It was just a separate line item that was
right,
basically passed through.
yes,
And the recycling was always,
in the
we all
levy,
paid for it anyways.
Yes.
And it was in the levy.
yeah.
So by doing this, we're all paying for our own garbage and our own recycling. And you say there's wiggle room in the
Levy.
levy, so
It's a total of about 27,000 in the levy. You know, if you put it for all, everybody in the township, so.
And a majority of the individuals in the Northwest Recycling do it that way.
Have done it that way
Yeah,
forever,
in the
for
consortium,
years,
Northwest
and we just never have done it that way, so.
So it's all going on specialists, and that is all taken care of for this next year, that it's on everybody's tax bill?
Hopefully.
It'll be the same on the tax bill as it is for the garbage. Anybody who's getting garbage will get the same. There are a few homes, we had one that burned down, and a couple of those that don't get pickup, that have been taken off or moved for whatever reason. But otherwise, everybody gets garbage, and we're watching really close again this year. Because when they do that over at the county, they have to put them on or take them off by the parcel ID individually. So every one of those is an entry. So once in a while, they can make a mistake, obviously. So we'll, when the bills come, I'll go through them all. for them.
Last year was pretty,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Vote. Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
All right,
Kevin,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye. Where is? Oh, this
Okay,
is copies now.
so now on the budget worksheet here,
Mhm.
you guys have any, if you have any thoughts about moving line items? I know one of the areas, I looked at today was the parks and how much we spent last year, and maybe that could be an area that, we could save some costs there. But again, you guys would need to tell me if that's what you wanted to do.
I think everything is just about done, what needs to be done.
Until we start opening it up and mowing again. So what was the cost of mowing totally?
Do you have that?
I do. Mowing last year, $4,996. Plus $46.91 for sprays. Or whatever he needed else.
That antifreeze and stuff was.
Utilities were $413.11. That's
So what was the total?
like $5,455.92.
Our income,
$5,455.92.
The income was $3,850 minus the refunds of $1,600. So,
Yeah, well, okay, so I'll get to that one. We do
Carolyn just has some.
mhm.
the rest of it will come when we make the transfer.
All right, so we want to keep the budget as it is, or do you want to make some changes?
So the biggest change, obviously, is not designating anything for bridges and highways, correct?
I'm sorry,
The
Bob.
biggest change then is that we're not designating any funds for bridges and highways, as
That's-
opposed to, we were going to designate $120,463.
That's correct. And then the highway, street construction, budget line item, that is a major reduction this year. So that's, account 53315.
Got it.
The sand salt.
Yeah, so there are some reductions in
Some
sand
minor,
and salt.
Dust control.
Dust
is the-
control is
yeah.
out, and then granite was cut. you're looking at the wages, benefits, and insurance line, the biggest increase there is because, we did not have it forecasted to pay our insurance bill, in 18, and I think we're going to be paying it this year, so that's gonna make that number, the forecast for this year a lot different compared to the budget. It's not that we're adding a bunch of costs there.
So what he presented tonight will be added to that, is that what you're saying?
That's right.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. And then we did have to budget, the board did have to budget for our full-time employees' proposed insurance for next year, per our handbook. So, that's also,
And we had that as for,
it was $1,000 a month.
so, and that can be negotiated down the road also.
Sure. That's right.
Okay.
We don't have any quotes for that, it's just strictly a budget line item at this point.
Okay. Anybody else see anything?
So this is our,
This is with the 500,000.
right, this is our general budget, which is being presented to us tonight to adopt.
Yes.
But we are still going to have line item report. We talked about it before. So we don't have to do all the amendments, that's why we're going to adopt
Yes.
Summary.
proposal.
Summary,
Yes.
yeah, summary.
That's right, but a line item report will still be available at each meeting for you to review. And it's available out of my office at any time if anybody has questions.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the 2019 budget?
Move to approve the 2019 budget as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve the 2019 proposed budget. Is there any further discussion? Okay,
As long as everyone understands, it's the summary, so we don't have that confusion like we had last year.
yes, yeah,
Everybody knows?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye.
Who seconded that, please?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. We will set the caucus date.
It needs to be anywhere between the 1st and the 21st in January.
Let's just do it January 1st, let's kick off the new year.
What's the board meeting date?
8.
8th, okay.
No, wait, no, that's screwed up, that's a Monday right there. So either they-
Oh,
This is one of
first
those
is-
special calendars. Starts out when Monday where Sunday's supposed to be.
It's the 14th.
Maybe it's right.
The board meeting is the 14th?
Yep.
yeah, there you go. Okay.
That's 6 o'clock?
Oh, just before.
You make that a motion?
Mm-hmm.
Does that work for everybody? Yeah. Motion to set the caucus date for 2019, January 14th at 6 p.m.
Is there a second?
We have to have location.
No.
Fire department. Just do it.
Can we do a different, that date may not work for me.
It's a
Oh,
regular board meeting.
I know, I mean, this, that as well.
well,
Okay.
It really works well to do it that way.
One second.
Hmm?
1 second.
Let me check on something.
So what are you coming up with, Rob?
It hasn't been set yet, it'll be set tomorrow night.
It's fine, if it works for everyone else, I'll do the best I can.
Okay,
Okay,
so second, you're still in the
second.
Okay, the motion was made by Kevin, and who seconded it?
Carolyn.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye.
What's the date? Yeah, what's the date, though?
14 at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay. So the next item is your November budget to actual report. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it at this meeting. We'll do our budget amendments at the end of the month. There are a couple items I just wanted to bring to your attention. On page 2 of the report, 3/4 of the way down, the transfers from other funds, those will be populated later in the month after the funds transfers have happened. So we do still have money coming in there. And then we have many line items that we are under budget this year, so we've done a really nice job in those areas. I did want to point out a couple of line items that we'll need to take into consideration later in the month. So the legal services line item, I think I do have the last invoice in for the year. We might have a small one in, but everything's current, I think, through the end of November for legal services. That's on page 3. And then on page, let's see, we'll wipe out the Fall Fest expense with the revenue that Donna's transferring in. That's on page 5. So that'll net to 0. And then on page 7, highway street construction, we did a lot of work on the highways this year. So we're $19,000 over budget in that area. And then payroll expenses were not budgeted for on the very last page. So as of tonight, with the bills that have been paid, and I did include the $144,000 that Donna will transfer tomorrow, we have funds to designate in the amount of $84,386.48. Please don't take that number to the bank, okay? We have a little bit of funds coming in, but we still have some fire department expense. We have some roads expense for the new grader blades. We have the loan that the board voted to pay off. We have payroll for the board and for the fire department and for the roads crew and Donna and I at the end of the month. We have utilities. We have insurance. So we still have bills that are coming in, so please don't take that number to the bank yet. I'll have a much better number for you at the end of the month, but we should have sufficient funds, I believe, to pay the loans that the board voted to pay at the last meeting. Okay.
So there's nothing that we need to do right now.
No, I'd like to just cover the budget amendments when we get to the end of the month, rather than
Okay.
doing them two
All right.
nights.
Okay. Okay. All right, the next thing then is transfer funds from park savings account.
The park, as we talked about, for the pavilion, is supposed to be self-sustaining.
when we did this park instead of building a big fund or whatever. It is not doing that with rentals, as she was talking about, the rentals for this year were only like 1,600 after we did the deposits back and everything. So I told you earlier that the total bills for the pavilion for this year were 54, 55, 92. And then if we take off the 1,600 we received in the park stuff, the park owes the board 38, 55, 92. Which will have to come out of their savings.
38, 55, 22?
To balance the expenses for them is 38, 55, 92.
Okay, so we need a motion to transfer 38, 55, 22 from the parks, pardon me? 92? Oh, excuse me, 92. Make a motion to transfer that amount from the park savings fund to general checking.
I'll make that motion to transfer 38, 55, 92 to the general checking from the park savings account.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made to transfer 3855.92 from the park savings account to the general checking. Any discussion?
If you look at your financial report, you can see currently as of November 30th, there's $10,499.76 in that account. Plenty of money.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye.
And item 13 is the Fall Fest expenses, and total expenses for their account this year was $16,346.75. And they have enough in their account to transfer over those expenses back into the general account.
16,000.
346.75.
Okay. All right, we have a motion?
I'll move to transfer $16,346.75 from the Fall Fest expense to be transferred to the general account.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to transfer the $16,346.75 from the Fall Fest expense account to the general checking. Any discussion? Okay, vote.
Just
Oh,
clarity,
excuse me.
I thought that the Fall Fest account was always 15,000 was started what we were gonna have with that.
Yeah, well, they got a lot of work to do to get it back up to that, because they used the rest of that money for the truck. Fall Fest.
The ordinance says that they have to have funds available to cover their expenses, so that when they sell the tickets, the funds are, you start selling the tickets, the funds are available.
Right.
So you already have it before they start really expending.
Before you can spend it.
Yeah.
So what's going to be in there now?
Left in
Yeah.
there, not a lot.
500?
Yeah, about $500.
But I thought we need to maintain 15,000 in there.
No. We went back and looked at the ordinance, it doesn't say they have to have 15,000 in there all the time. It says they have to have enough funds in there to support what they're spending for Fall Fest. So they'll have to sell the tickets a little earlier this year.
And that's usually what it's run, you know, for the 16,000 is usually what is expected. So. Okay,
Did I hear it? Not yet.
no, we have to vote.
All right, Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye. The next thing on the thing is our ambulance contract. It has gone up 5% for a total
just had this hand in front of us that you just redid something and signed. Is that a year already?
Already. Yeah. So, the municipality shall pay to the city for the ambulance service to be performed under the terms hereof the sum of $56,526. It will be made $28,263 in 2 equal installments due on February 15th and August 15th. So, do we have a motion to, okay, yeah. To approve the ambulance contract with the city of Marshfield.
Make the motion to approve the ambulance contract with the city of Marshfield.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made to approve the contract. I'll put $56,526 for, with the city of Marshfield, the ambulance contract. Is there any discussion?
I still thought we just had something that, I know we did the recycling one, we had that, because everything's gone up, but I thought we had something given to us last year that was based, you know, it was already a 3-year thing that we were going to be doing automatically.
No, we do it yearly. We do it yearly.
The 3-year contract, is that the library?
That, no, that's your, the way they do their,
Because a lot of it,
formula.
a lot of discussion was based upon the equalized evaluation and what the distance
Yeah,
was.
they-
The cover letter explains that.
it'll tell you all right
It's
there.
based
They-
on consumer price index for medical care commodities, the consumer price index for medical care services, and the annual salary increase for EMS employees. My question was, we got 3 paramedics, get 4, now we're only gonna get 2 if 3 aren't available, correct? No?
You're getting
You're just getting 2.
They've gone to a 2-man ambulance crew.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're paying more for
Less.
less.
Okay, any further discussion? You must vote.
Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin, Carolyn.
We just need a motion to approve Christmas gifts for town employees. I would suggest we leave them the same as we did last year.
Motion to approve Christmas gifts for employees.
Same as last year. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to provide Christmas gifts. They're Mackey gift certificates for the town employees. The same as last year.
I believe there's just 3.
3 employees.
Pat and Jean and Lonnie is part-time. Those are the only ones that we salary.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
No, because he's been added to the list. The other list. That's fine. Okay. Ms. Holtz?
Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye.
Carol, before we adjourn the 28th meeting, I'm definitely not available at all. We'll have to probably have to do without me.
Okay. That's okay. You know, I think it's usually pretty straightforward at that point. So, okay, is there,
Yeah, the only catch to that is 4 or 5 have to be here, then 4 and 5 have to agree on 4/5 of the majority.
majority?
Majority that's
Majority.
present that night.
So you only need. Okay, motion to adjourn?
Carolyn.
Okay,
Carolyn.
yes.
Okay, now that you've got our tax rate or mill rate, our end of the year tax is gonna be out by December 31st.
Yes, so we're going, well, you can answer it.
So, We had to wait till tonight, till the budget passed. Tomorrow, I'll get all the tax information to the county. And as Donna mentioned earlier, the county has to put recycling on every single tax bill, right, Donna?
That's correct, and I did call them, and she said they were gonna try to see if they could incorporate it in a, through the IT department, if they could do it, otherwise there's gonna be 700 and some entries for them tomorrow before they can get those tax bills. Once they get that stuff all on the bills, it takes 3 to 5 days to run them. So, what's tomorrow, the 12th? So it'll be the next week after that, probably before we get them in our hands, which would be like the 18th, I would think.
Yeah, and I won't have them there first thing tomorrow. It'll be sometime later tomorrow before I get them. So maybe Donna will have them out by Christmas, but it could be after Christmas, Donna?
It'll be my goal to have them done that end of that week, because I don't want to think about them during Christmas.
Exactly. And we can
Last
enlist a
year, by
little
this
help.
time, I think we already had ours set.
You did, I started doing those like the 8th and 10th last year. You got them out. Kind of a-
Collection hours is going to be,
Collection hours, there was no one, all the evenings I sat, I had 5 people actually, who came in. And Saturday mornings were the same thing, like I had 1 person afternoon, so it really doesn't take. The town of Lincoln sits actually 11 and a half hours during the whole season at the town hall to collect taxes. The rest are on here. So I will put some hours in there, I'm just not sure what. And Tom,
The later hours, didn't we talk about, you just put it, that if somebody can't come until later,
I'll put in there, they can make an
that they
appointment with
just
me.
call
If
her
they
and
really
she'll do
need
it.
something. I know you came in the 11th hour last year, one evening.
And you were there?
And I was there, yes, at 7 o'clock. And so, and that's very, very rare to have anybody in, so they'll come, so they can mail them. It's easy enough to mail. And as we talked about last month, everybody will get receipts. Town of Lincoln's, I just thought mine, they don't do that. They, if you want a receipt, you mail them, you have to send a self-addressed envelope. But in the past, and I asked you last week, what do you want? And you kind of wanted everybody to have a receipt, so we'll do that again this year. And then you can think about it.
Then you also said for those that do not have a garbage or recycling pickup, they still have a fire, but they don't get charged.
Well,
Fine, thank you.
If they don't have garbage service for whatever reason, then, no, that won't be on their bill. We'll go through them and check. I have, I collected a bunch from last year that they weren't on over the years, last 6, 7 years, they didn't keep that up. And I have still 10 that I'm gonna try to collect from 17 that still haven't paid their garbage from the year
I was
17.
asking because my mom has a lot number that isn't having garbage or recycle whatsoever, so.
Does she live there?
No.
Then, no, there's no bill for that then. Is there improvements on it, like a garage or something like that? No, then there's no bill for that. It's only where you live.
Okay.
There are a couple that have 2 cans. But they know, they want that, they've got something else going on in a shop or something. I don't know. And there's a couple of duplexes, those get double.
I don't think those were checked in the last 2 years. So obviously, it's a problem. Okay,
motion to adjourn.
okay, second?
Kevin's.
You seconded? Okay, motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Nay. It's actually very easy. That's fine. You want to stay over
Well, I think it's cool, I think she,
Highways to offset that.
you say.
So, are you asking